Yay!
Hello. Yeah, I mean, I had this. I've been wanting to speak to you for a while, actually, but a lot of stuff's been coming up, like energetically,
Yeah.
um, to do with like other people, and because I'm in an environment where like a lot of emotional stuff is coming up for everyone, um, and it just feels as though I don't know how to explain it. Like it just feels as though I'm experiencing everyone else's pain, and um, it sometimes gets so much that it's just, and I know it's not true, but it's just like I feel like I'm dealing with all of this body's emotions and traumas, and I don't want to deal with everyone else's as well. Um,
Yeah, but that's only the person speaking. Not that that's to
yeah,
devalue the person, but that's only the top layer speaking.
yeah.
Underneath, it's the most perfect play of things. This is exactly what life, what you as God as wholeness wants. And you can handle it.
I think what happens is it brings up this sense of I must protect myself. The thought that comes is something's invading this body, which which you are. Um, it's like a thought that arises, and then it's believed that that oh I am this body, even though
Yeah.
it's been seen that I'm not.
So where do you
But
feel that feeling? Whereabouts, if you shut your eyes, where do you feel that in your body? Does something's invading you, and that you've got to protect yourself?
it's like an energy that kind of sweeps over the surface over the surface of the body, and it's kind of like an adrenaline, like a sweeping of adrenaline just over the very, very surface of the body. um, and then and then the thought and the mind comes with like you're not safe. This There's an energetic like detox happening, and someone's like giving you their energy.
Yeah. So basically, you feel like you're invaded, and your body's responding like you're being attacked in some way. So you're getting the adrenaline of fear, the adrenaline of trying to escape that. So let's go underneath that feeling. That's an intense feeling as it is, and so underneath that feeling of that somebody is invading you, what do you feel underneath it? So you have that adrenaline that goes through.
It depends on what happens, because it's quite hard to do it now, Lisa, because I don't feel it. I'm going by what a memory
Yeah.
is of when it happens. And when it happens, it's so intense, like I could vomit, because this feeling of like, it basically feels like a detox is happening, but I know it's not. I know it's not my detox that's happening. Not mine, but it's someone other body, or in a way. Um, Sorry, I don't mean to close my eyes so much. I'm just really trying to
Yeah, that's
look
okay.
with you. Um,
And then how does it make you feel?
Identified with the body.
But it's difficult because if you're not feeling it now, we can't really do it.
Yeah,
So
that's it.
what are you feeling now?
Okay. Yeah, maybe we
Yeah.
just, yeah. Okay. Um, Feelings now are just sensations in the head, in the back of the head, um, on the surface of my hands. like a slight labeling of, I'm going to label it like a nervous energy from my heart
Yeah.
going up to my throat, and then just awareness of the back of the head again, like a vibration,
Mm-hmm.
and then back to the throat. Nothing.
So just put your attention into the body and into all the sensations. And go into that one in the heart center where you feel nervous energy. Just rest your attention there. And the whole time, that person that's resting its attention there isn't wholeness, isn't the experiencer. That's an experience, but it can move its attention as if it's being aware, but there's actually something greater and bigger that's knowing all of that. The movement of that person's attention. But while that person feels identified, that can move the attention and has choices and does things, it's always looking for what to do. And it's always trying to get away from what it feels. So if it feels uncomfortable, it tries to get away from it. If it feels happy, it tries to get to that.
So there's this feeling of just like it in the throat now,
Yeah.
and just kind of this very, like, I don't know, like a kind of a sadness,
Mm-hmm.
or like just like a melancholy kind of
Yeah.
like feeling.
So just rest your attention there. So what happens with the identified person is it's always sucking everything into itself. So it believes it's this person that can experience its feelings and look at its feelings and feels its feelings. And then what it does is it looks at them, it labels them, and then it tries to move away from any unpleasant feelings and only towards pleasant feelings. And in that effort, what it's done is it's encouraged discomfort. By trying to always avoid anything painful, it's encouraged painful feelings. So the fear of those feelings has made them more so. So all the chakra areas become unbalanced because the identification is telling a false story that it's its life, it exists separately, and it's its responsibility to get happiness and to avoid suffering. And therefore everything comes out of balance because this isn't true. This isn't in line with reality. So all your heart area normally feels a lot of lack. Your stomach is feeling a lot of fear. And the sadness is that you can never quite get home. You're always looking for home and you can never quite get there. There's also lots of other different feelings. So if you feel like you can't connect with a human, you feel sad, because really you're looking for connection as freedom. You're looking for particular experiences as freedom. So there's a sadness if you can't connect. If you feel rejected by someone, you feel it in the heart. And if there's identification there, you feel like that rejection is going to complete you, so it really hurts. And the person keeps adding it onto himself and keeps validating this fear and this sense of I'm not enough as well. And none of it's true. The truth is in the stillness of everything. It's that which is experiencing this. And that's not the person that's putting its attention or awareness on these feelings. That one that's doing that is being experienced by something that's not located but everywhere.
Ah, sorry.
That's okay. Just let it come out. And we get addicted to particular stories. And we'll repetitively play them out, even if they're painful. So if we have a strong sense of not feeling enough or lack, we're constantly looking for love and affection from people. And there's just no consciousness or awareness around that. The person will be adamant that what it's doing is a beautiful thing, by giving to people, by doing things for people, by expressing itself. Whatever it is, it will be convinced that that action is a natural, free action. But really what it's doing most of the time, 90% of the time when the seeker's there, is it's trying to fulfill something it lacks. And pointing this game out isn't a depressive thing. It just has to be a going into that sensation and seeing the stillness there that's in everything. It's not you seeing it. As it begins to reveal itself, the less the person runs away. The freedom was always in the experience, even the uncomfortable ones. Even enlightenment can become about being lovable. Any reactions that are happening, a rejection to what's being said, a wanting to get somewhere, none of that's relevant. What's relevant is what's happening. And you can feel that the separate person's, no, it doesn't want to feel it. It wants to keep moving. It's this person's fault, it's that person's fault, it's this, it's that. Everything is lovable. Everything is divine when that person stops running. It's here, in the experience, not out of it. You can only be invaded by somebody else if there's a you there that can be invaded. If there's no you, then there's no internal and external, and there's nobody to keep out. Feel that. Feel how the person will want to reject that. Feel it. Nothing is the fault of the external. All suffering comes from separation. What's going on now?
Just some like energetic sensation. I don't know. A lot of heat like coming out of the face and the head. Like a lot of heat, just like
Yeah. And what about in the heart area and in the stomach? What's happening there?
I'd say the main focus is still like this huge kind of constriction in the throat.
Okay, so put all your attention into the throat and see if there's any stories that pop or words that pop around it. If you could name them.
Okay, this is like the word vomit just came.
Yeah, yeah. Just any words, any more come. But yeah, you can even like open your mouth as if you want to vomit. See if you can find anything underneath that.
Stuck.
Yeah.
Abandoned.
Yeah. You see how it builds up layers, and then when you really begin to dig into it, you'll often find that it comes down to two feelings. It can fall into two groups, even though it'll have different strains, and that's fear, or that you've been abandoned by God, you've been abandoned by wholeness. And this feeling of being alone, of being isolated, constantly makes us compromise ourselves. So we always want to be with humans, we always want to have contact or intimacy, and it never can fulfill that sense of feeling totally alone, that fear of feeling alone as a separate entity, as a person that walks on this planet. So we get into relationships that we're not happy in, we form friendships that we don't really like, we do jobs that we're not very happy in because we're trying to fulfill it and we're petrified of that feeling. But it's only a feeling, it's not a reality. And I say only, and really, feelings are huge. It's not, I don't mean to, to dismiss it. It's such a huge feeling. Feeling totally and utterly alone. And you can never ever find an answer to that in movement. The answer to that is in the stillness which is inside, or is that feeling. It's not even that, it's the stillness that's there, the vertical that's always there, always shining through the horizontal. It's in that amness, that being, that sense of being. But don't look for the sense of being, don't look for home, because that makes you further away from home. It's there when you stop running away. So while that person's there, all it needs to keep doing is going in. And ultimately there's no in or outside world, but that's the best way I can describe it. Into what's happening, into the experience. And even the person trying to get out of the experience is in the experience, but it feels like it's trying to go to another moment in time. All stories are about going to another moment in time. It's that person's fault, or it's because they gave me bad energy. I'm not saying that there might not be truth to it. If someone stabs you, then someone stabs you, or someone has energy and you pick up on it. But your suffering comes from trying to avoid whatever's happening. Stillness, wholeness can take all feelings, all sensations. It rejects nothing. And it's so free. But don't look for it. The looking for it hurts. To try to get to that stillness, oh yeah, where's the stillness, where's the stillness? You won't ever find it, because the you that's looking is in movement. The one that's moving its attention and awareness is in past and future. It's in the flow of things. It's there. It's behind the feeling, it's in the feeling. And when this is being realized, it can produce many funky and bizarre experiences, like so many bizarre experiences of energy arising, of feelings arising, of like the feelings feel like they're going to burst at points. They become so strong when you stop running away from them, and then they kind of move out of the body. And often the way they move out of the body is coming up and out, but not always. It can be through crying, shouting, lots of different things. And it can produce so many side effects, like shaking in the body, huge things. Because the body is so used to going to find some form of peace in a story or in the next moment. You feel sick again?
It's just like a lot of heat coming.
And something comes up really intensely. It's really beautiful, because I know that it's coming out. It doesn't feel so good, but it's coming out. It's no longer buried in there.
It just seems endless, though. Like all of these things that are being seen to be not true and being dropped, and it does seem endless.
But be aware of that story, because That story can often be, or the mind will use that story as a way to victimize itself again. Like, this is endless. I mean, that's just a story, because how long is anything? And did it ever really happen but in imagination? And it will only tell that story when it already feels weak. When it feels, when the suffering's not so strong, it won't say this is endless. It'll be like, wow, this is amazing.
But something wants to feel weak, doesn't it?
Yeah, it wants to go into being victim. If you look at humanity, it's actually happening really quick. If you look at the waking up of humanity in that timeline, it's really quick. If you compare it to like something like learning French or something, maybe you're like, oh, this is really slow. It's all in comparison. It just uses anything to validate what it wants to be.
Yeah.
When you don't feel like a victim, that story won't come up.
It's so dramatic.
When I was going through this, it took me ages to realise that every thought had an agenda. Like, you think that thoughts are innocent in some way, that they're just reporting back experience, but not every thought, but like these waves always had agenda. Like, so it takes so long for it to happen, it seems endless, it always has agenda.
What do you mean? I'm a bit confused.
It always has an agenda to be something.
What, the story of, like...
Just all types of stories. So just this one story, if we take the story of it seems so long, it's got an agenda. It's not just peering to report about anything. It's got an agenda to stay as a victim. Because at the moment your body's feeling this immense suffering, and victimhood normally comes up with suffering, because what victim is you're something small in relation to this big world out there. So every sense of self always has this taste of being victimized by this world that can eat it and kill it. So when you're suffering, it's always producing these dark stories, wanting identification with it, because the seeker doesn't care. The seeker just wants to be something. So if it's in dark energies coming up, then it tries to grab more dark stories to hold on to. So I can't think of the stories off the top of my head, but that you'll find that it's always trying to find a position, and nothing is true. Nothing. Thinking was only about survival. It never was meant to refer to a you or a me. But we began to refer to it as a you and me to help our survival, but then we got lost in you and me, and then you and me is dependent on opposites. So feeling good, feeling bad, feeling lower, feeling higher. And the sense of self is flicking between all of those and always trying to find its position. So when there's less suffering in that body, then you'll be telling yourself, you might not even be conscious, but you'll be telling yourself that you're more enlightened, or that you're on the right path, or what a brilliant path this is, and that will feel good. And if I challenge you when you feel good like that, you'll be angry with me, because you'll be like, no, but this is true. But it's always just trying to find a new position to sit in. And the freedom is the collapsing of that. So there's no position, there is this stillness, and then the character is just manifesting whatever it needs to be in that moment. It's appearing as whatever it needs to be, whether it needs to be in playful mode because it's playing with other humans, or having fun with other humans, or serious work mode. It will be what, but there's nothing that's trying to hold a position. So it just moves through all these different feelings and emotions, and there's no enlightened character. So we also like to think of enlightenment as a peaceful character. Like, I noticed that that people like it when, or spiritual seekers, especially when they're new to this subject, they find it hard if I'm being feisty or funky or funny, and not being this kind, loving, caring person, and the reason that is because the seeker has identified peaceful emotions and feelings with enlightenment, so therefore it wants to see it in the speaker that they're looking at. So they want to see a speaker that looks like that, or looks spiritual, because that makes them feel more relaxed, because they see this thing that they want to be, and then they think that's what they're moving towards, but that's got nothing to do with it. Peacefulness has got nothing to do with it. A human's not meant to just be peaceful. We've got lots of different elements to us. We've got to be feisty, we've got to control our environment, we've got to cook, we've got to hunt, we've got to survive. That's another dynamic. We've got making children, bringing up children, enforcing rules. There's so many different things that the human has got to be, but we've identified peaceful as enlightened, and anger or feistiness or having fun as unenlightened. So we push that away, not because that's got anything to do with enlightenment, but because that's what the seeker does. It's always trying to find something to be, and it doesn't like this sort of stuff, because then it makes it feel lost. I need to have an ideal. I need to have peaceful actions or calm actions or this as an ideal, because then that's something for me to move towards. And none of this is relevant. It's always going in. The amness is the freedom. None of these thoughts processes are relevant. The amness is the freedom which is below all things. The thought processes have a relevance, so if there's a speaker teaching non-duality, to knock out old thoughts and question old thoughts, but then no thoughts are meant to stay. It's all about going into the experience, deeper and deeper into the experience, and then it's seen that this world is made from a profound stillness and love, and that is your nature, that's your true nature, that's everything's nature. It's the birthright of all things. Who you truly are is absolute love, and the seeker is a form of rejection of that love, and going home is collapsing back into that love and the collapsing of the rejection. So you can go into feeling that no, and that no isn't true, but don't try to stop the no. Don't try to stop the rejection, just let it be there. It's already loved. It's already accepted. Oh, it was beautiful sitting with you. I'll move on to someone else now. It was really beautiful. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Oh, it's
Thank
a pleasure.
you.
I send you lots of love.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Oh, that was a beautiful conversation. So there's lots of